Okay, so last night I watched CHRISTSPIRACY, and this is going to be a discussion video, just discussing it. I haven't fact checked any of the findings in the film. I haven't cross-referenced it with anything. I'm literally just going off what I learned and just discussing it. Kind of like I do with Pignorant, the Pignorant discussion, which did quite well, got a few views. And I like watching vegan films. Of course, films were instrumental in making me go vegan, particularly Kip Anderson's previous films, Cowspiracy, What the Health, Seaspiracy. CHRISTSPIRACY is Kip Anderson's latest film installation in the whole series of vegan films. And boy, was it unreal. Like, the revelations they came across, the way they kind of like twisted certain aspects of the Bible to fit this sort of narrative that Jesus was a vegetarian and that he was an animal rights activist is pretty wild. Now, obviously, you'd have to watch it to really understand what I mean by that. And you'd have to be open-minded to begin with. You'd have to be open-minded enough to actually sit down and watch it. There's a lot of references to Gospels that are outside of the King James Version of the Bible. And they also consulted historians, theologians, pastors, priests. They dived into historic records as well. They interviewed experts in particular types of history and theology. Pretty reputable sources, if I do say so myself. It was literally a film diving into the question of, is there a spiritual way to kill an animal? Now, obviously, me being vegan, absolutely not. There's no spiritual way to kill an animal. How do you spiritually or humanely kill someone that doesn't want to die? That's one of the questions that I struggle with. There is no way to do it. No, I don't struggle with it. There's just no way. Obviously, not everyone's a vegan, so they might think, oh yeah, this way is better, or oh, kosher is better, or halal is better. But anyway, CHRISTSPIRACY. So it was quite a long film, loads of revelations in it, particularly about Jesus. It mainly focuses on Christianity, but they also go into interviewing people of other religions as well. So Buddhism is involved, Islam's involved, Hinduism is involved, Judaism I think gets a nod as well. I'm not entirely sure. I don't think they really dived into Judaism as much. It was mostly Christianity, Hinduism, and Buddhism. There's so many clues that they kind of uncover, and it's kind of like the Da Vinci Code, the series with Tom Hanks. It's almost as like thrilling as that. And there's times when they actually followed by government spies. There's times when they get footage of slaughterhouse trucks going over borders, and there's some action-packed scenes in it actually, more so than in the previous films. But yeah, I mean, in CHRISTSPIRACY, they go to places of animal sacrifice, and they covered that. And what they do good is they link the film well together, and you have the traditional sort of Kip Anderson like telltales, the Kip Anderson devices of his sort of style. Well, he sent an email to the Dalai Lama. Don't know why he expected a response, but he did. And he was like, oh, I guess the Dalai Lama didn't want to reply. You'll know what I mean if you've seen his previous films. What I found crazy is the whole revelation around Jesus. So, everyone knows Jesus as Jesus of Nazareth, correct? But they dive into historical records of the villages and towns that were around that era when Jesus was born. Nazareth isn't even mentioned in the Bible. But what Nazareth actually stands for is the group called the Nazarenes. They were vegetarians, and they also followed Jesus. They also loved Jesus, and they were compassionate to people of human species and of non-human species. That is what the Nazarenes were. Again, I haven't double-checked this myself. It's just what the film claims. You can go on the website and have a look at all these facts that they mention there for yourself, or you can watch it when it comes out online. I'm not sure when it's going to come out online. Currently, it's only available in cinemas right now. So yesterday was the first screening of it in the UK, as far as I'm aware. I think there's some early screenings that some other people managed to watch. And then this Sunday coming up, the 24th, there's another screening in various cinemas across London. But you can find it online on the CHRISTSPIRACY website. And then boom, right, Den of Thieves. Everyone knows about the Den of Thieves. Everyone knows the story of Jesus going into a temple and then completely like turning it upside down, flipping, throwing tables about, throwing money about, because people were trading in a temple of worship, which is meant to be solely for God, for worshipping God, not for trading or financial gain or anything like that. What's interesting is that the film goes into talking about that word thieves. they translated it somehow. I think they looked at the Greek or the Abrahamic of that word thieves, and they found out that it means violent ones. Violent ones refers to obviously violence. Slaughterhouses are violence, if you ain't aware. Slitting an animal's throat is violent, okay? You should know this, but you put a block up in your mind and you ignore that. But and that's an interesting thing as well. So these temples back in the day, they used to be technically used as slaughterhouses. They often brought animals to these temples and then slaughtered them to sacrifice to the gods above. And the film basically goes into talking about how Jesus was completely opposed to this idea of sacrifice, animal sacrifice, and trading animals, using animals as commodities. And it's just a really interesting spin on the whole biblical story. I mean, who knows if it's completely true? Who knows if Jesus was a vegetarian / animal rights activist? No one knows. I'm glad this film is out there now, so that sort of like narrative is out there that he could have well and truly been it. Will definitely spark debate in the online space and amongst vegans and non-vegans alike. But if you ask yourself that question, how would Jesus kill an animal? Can you answer that? Bearing in mind that Jesus was meant to be the perfect man, the most compassionate man, the most loving man, you really think that he would grab a sheep or grab a lamb, hang it upside down and slit their throat? You really think Jesus would do that? Okay, and if you think Jesus would do that, then what would the devil do? What would the devil do? How would the devil kill an animal? If Jesus would kill an animal by slitting their throat, how would the devil do it? You can't think of an answer because they're both as bad as each other in that sense. But yeah, it's just a very interesting, thought-provoking film. And really, well and truly, you need to kind of watch the film to kind of get an idea of just what I mean by it being provocative and thought-provoking. And yeah, it's crazy. There's also a little nod at the end to animal rights activists. Of course, the filmmakers are vegan, so they're going to want to try and influence and inspire vegans out there that watch the film. But yeah, I'd say the film is close to being a sensationalist piece and close to being just a film that kind of has one narrative. Okay, we want people to think that Jesus was vegan, an animal rights activist. It's clear that was their whole idea going into it. And I mean, there's various reviews online about it. I think it's not rated that highly because of, I think, how controversial it is, the controversial nature, rather than the actual content of the film. I think people just don't like it because there's vegans here trying to expose this lie that has been hidden up for so many years. And mate, most people don't like vegans. Most people probably don't even like me, but I don't care, mate. I'm living my life. I stand up for what I believe in. But what's interesting is the link between vegans and Jesus. Jesus and his disciples, they were persecuted like nothing else back in the day. Like, people did not like Jesus and his disciples. And people don't like vegans. People don't like vegans these days because we point out people's hypocrisy. We point out their taste pleasure and how utterly ridiculous it is that that's the thing they use as an excuse to continue doing this to all these animals. And yeah, same with Jesus and his disciples. They were persecuted by the Pharisees and the Jewish leaders. And okay, another interesting thing about the film is that it goes into how 4 days after Jesus cleared the temple, he was crucified. And that's what they think was one of the number one reasons for his crucifixion, because of his complete and utter rebellion against the economical and business franchise that was going on in his temple. His complete and utter distaste, disgust of that happening in his father's temple. A temple which is meant to be for worship and for developing a relationship with God. And I don't know if I mentioned it, but I've read the Bible. Very interesting book. I haven't read all of it. I've only just recently started, but it's an extraordinary book and it really does challenge your thinking. And, well, it tells the story of Jesus.
Is there a peaceful way to kill an animal?
I think we need to wrap things up.